What's up, Trials Fanatics? Welcome back. I got one of these. It's a clean street frame. Because why not? Building bikes is fun. Now, there's a guy on our group rides who rides a clean 20 inch, and he has had a lot of problems with his clean. And everybody that I know who has a clean carbon K1 26 inch has broken their frames. So my expectations are kind of low for this build, but I'm gonna check it out anyway. But it's mostly gonna be a spare parts build. I'm not gonna put the trickiest parts on this first go around anyway. It's gonna be all the stuff that I have left over, except I don't have everything in spare parts. So sadly, my Tsar Neuron is gonna be the donor bike for this one. But it's only gonna be giving up handlebars, cranks, and a front wheel. So that's not too bad. So first, let's talk about this frame. From the internet pictures, I knew that it had this through the stays brake setup that I'm not really a fan of. I've had it on a TMS bike before, and it's unnecessary. But I'm gonna try it out. Maybe they did a better job than TMS. We'll check it out. Also, I don't really understand this engineering. I don't know why they separated these because the stressors would be much better if they were in line. But hey, maybe they know something I don't. So we're gonna try this out. The welds are not exactly uniform. They look pretty good, but not as nice as the Echoes, actually. And when I first got the frame, I noticed that this is not round. The top of the seat tube, I measured it. It's 31 one way and 33 the other way, so that's kind of an oval. I'll hammer that out a bit. Maybe I can get a seat collar on there. And then I also noticed that the stays don't really line up there. This one's a little lower than this one. And then these are breather holes. They're not drain holes exactly, but they really ought to be on the bottom because every time the wheel goes around, it's going to throw stuff into these little holes. So that's fun. I might just fill it with nitrogen and tape over it, maybe. I don't know. Or I guess I could drill my own on the bottom, but little things. I bought the frame directly from Clean, and they didn't send it with a rear through axle, which I'm really gonna need. And they didn't send it with this little insert for the chain tensioner, which I'm also really gonna need. I've put an email out to them, and we'll see how soon I can get one of those and we can start building this thing. Now it's also got 120 millimeter spacing in the rear, which it doesn't need because a 24-inch bike, even with your crank arms like they are, it's not going to be a problem because there's bikes that are running 142 in the rear on a 24-inch bike, and they're fine. So 120 is really just kind of proprietary so they can sell more of their hubs, I think. Because it would make a stronger wheel if it was 135 or 142 or something wider, so you have better triangulation for your spokes. But I'm gonna give it a try anyway. Like I said, low expectations. This bike will need to be better than my Guilty for me to really like it, and that's a pretty high bar to clear. So we'll see how far it gets. So like I said, this is gonna be a spare parts build, and I actually have a spare Tsar Urban fork. This came off of my Guilty originally. Guilty. When I got the extension carbon fork for it, so this wasn't actually on there for very long. And I still have the original Guilty fork as well. If I really wanted to do some color clashing, the red to the Guilty blue over there. The donor wheel is going to be, remember the Aludark video? Yeah, this is the wheel that used to be on the Tsar Neuron. I've since put the profile wheel back on the Neuron, so now this one is just kind of extra. So it's going to get unbuilt and rebuilt with a 120 rear hub. Probably the Comus, because I can't find any of the cleans to try those. I've had a Comus before, 120 free hub, so I might get one of those again. It was all right. It worked out fine. I traded some parts for a Magura MT5E. So this is probably going to go on the rear. I used it briefly on another bike and it seemed fantastic. So I'm hoping that it will be just great on this bike in the rear. and I might get another one of these for the front at some point. I don't really have a good second brake in the spare parts bin. This is a Zoom brake straight from China. You can get a pair of these for $30 on Amazon, and they work well enough for $30. So this is half of that set, and it's going to go in the front until I replace it with something possibly better. Yeah, and I have some broken pedals that are going to go on it that aren't too broken. I kind of fixed them. So that's for that. And then I did order a saddle. This was supposed to be brown. It looked more brown in the picture on eBay. The description said dark purple, and from the picture I just couldn't see dark purple in there. But now that if you kind of hold it up to the light and just at the right angle, it is kind of purplish. I don't know. It's gonna work. I think it's gonna be fine once I fix the seat tube. Yeah. And I had a spare 9035 stem that was originally going to be on my Czar 26 that I never got around to putting on there. So I have a spare one of these. And then the other little bits, 13 tooth gusset, double 6 cog for the rear. I have no idea where this headset came from. This uses an internal headset, and I actually had one that was the perfect dimensions, so that's great. It's a Cane Creek 40, which is pretty good. And actually the headset looks really good. I've already put the bearings in because I couldn't resist. And the headset area is really well done. Really nicely machined. Everything fit perfectly when I test fit it. So that's good, at least. So it's a BSA 68 millimeter bottom bracket. I have a bunch of Shimano cranks that I could go 24 axle on here, but I'm actually going to go with the clean BB30 cranks because I really love the clean cranks. So that's a good thing that's come out of clean, at least. So I had to order another Amazon special, cheapy BB30 bottom bracket. I will get a Hope if I really like this bike and upgrade this. This was pretty cheap. So that'll be going on here. I hope it works out with the clean 30 cranks. Yeah. So let's start putting it together. Okay, hold up, just wait, stop. So I'm still waiting for parts to finish this build. But I got the rear hub in, so I built up the rear wheel and stuck it in to see what it's going to be like with this whole rear triangle thing. Let me show you what I got going on here. Okay, so things change. I got the hub in. I got a Comus hub because I couldn't find any of the clean hubs. There were none available when I bought this. And built up the wheel, did a little more research, and the clean hub is 120 millimeters native. So you don't need spacers in there. With the Comus hub, it starts life as 112 millimeters, and you need spacers on both sides to fill in the rest to make it 120. So because of that, my chain line was going to be awful. So I had to go to a screw-on cog, and then I changed to an Isis bottom bracket and Isis cranks up front because I needed a screw-on up there as well to make the chain line halfway decent. I tried to put a Shimano on there, but I couldn't make a 22 tooth chainring fit. So it's 18. Yeah, and the chain line's pretty good now. And then on the brake side, I did manage to fit a 4-piston brake in there, Magura. This is the MT5E. I had to put a washer up front to raise it above the bleed port so that I could actually move it around a little bit. And there's really no room to adjust it. The through the stays brake mount is still just dumb. I might go to an MT4 so I have a little bit more headroom, but I did make it work. You know, it doesn't rub, but there's really no room for adjustment. And then I made a couple of other changes. There's an MT Magura MT brake up front now. I did change to my Guilty fork, painted it black so that it wasn't so egregiously blue against all this. But yeah, I managed to get it together. I have a ride video that I'll be posting next. I'm happy to admit that the bike actually does ride pretty well. It feels pretty good. It's just, it's designed around one single solitary hub that Clean makes, and according to their Twitter, it's not even a very good hub. So do what you want with that information. The brake mount is dumb, but other than that, it's a pretty good bike. So watch the ride video next, and you can see what this thing does. Hope you enjoyed it. Now get out there and ride.